In the dead of night, when the moon is high and ill winds blow, and the banshees cry and the moonlight casts an unearthly glow, arise, my love, with tales of woe.
Good evening. It is 12 midnight, the Paranormal Hour. Welcome to Ghost to Ghost. I'm your host, Chief Lawson. Ghost to Ghost is a podcast to discuss all paranormal and parapsychology subjects. You can find Ghost to Ghost on all major formats, so tell your friends, tell your family. Come listen to Ghost to Ghost. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is that time. Time for Ghost to Ghost. Tonight, we're going to broach the subject of Paracons. What are they? What goes on at them? And why should everybody go to them? That's our questions for tonight. Tonight, I have my co-host, Jennifer Verne, research manager and podcast producer.
Good evening.
And my other co-host, Heather Lawson, case manager and podcast director.
Hello.
Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about Paracons. What is a Paracon? Well, this is, when you break down the word, it's paranormal convention. You've got Comic Cons, you've got Gen Cons, you've got all these different cons. We have our own. Now, the thing that stands out with ours is people go, well, what do you guys do? You have seances? Where I've had people ask me some weird stuff. And now this is just a convention, but the good conventions will have continuing education classes, and it gives us a chance to reach out and learn more. When we put groups together, we can sometimes learn from their research and their data, and it makes a very big difference. So, the other thing I want to say about Paracons are they're a mixed methodology. Well, they're a mixed methodology, but they're also a mixed genre of subjects.
Right, yeah. They've got everything. They've got more than just what you think paranormal ghost would be.
Exactly. Not everyone there is a ghost hunter. You've got cryptozoologists, ufologists, and they all show up, and it's great. And then you get some of the TV personalities and so forth that come in, and some of those guys. I was drinking at the bar the last couple of times up in Michigan with several of the cryptozoologists, and they're a load of fun to drink with. But even though we don't do the same things, it's nice to know them and get a chance to talk to them. And it's also nice to see people in our fields and where they came from originally and so forth. So anyway, so when you go there, it's not a snake charmer show. It's not a sideshow. It's not smoke and mirrors. This is a situation where there's just tons of people and everybody gets along great. I don't know if anybody that's had any problems per se. And the biggest one that we usually go to is the one in Michigan. And, it's the Michigan Paracon. It's located in Sault Ste. Marie. Happens every year in August. And it's a great time. To me, and I'll let you guys tell what you think, but to me, it's part vacation, it's part bonding with my group, and it's part continuing education.
No, definitely.
And it's a chance to drink at somebody else's bar. Jennifer, what do you think?
Yeah, the continuing education part is really fascinating because you get to sit and listen to the talks put on by other people in this field. They give you a new perspective and a new take on what you thought you knew or understood.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was really informative, and you get new ideas. And like last year, MJ's class, her workshop on the EVPs and how she does her EVPs.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of changed up how we do ours and made us really rethink some things.
Oh, yeah. That's the neat thing. And she was very kind. I got a chance. Now, I think her and Jennifer stay somewhat in contact. And I don't as much, but when I talked to her last year, I told her about the opportunity I had to go to England. I've been over there a couple of times, and one of the things related is I got to go in the tower after hours. And she goes, "Oh my God, I've been trying to arrange that for years." And I explained how and so forth. And we said it was kind of a common bond there for that one point. But one of the things that she brought out, she told us a lot of things, and again, a lot of these things that they're teaching are things they've learned.
Right, trial and error,
Exactly. And we have changed how we take EVPs as a result of that. And it makes a very big difference. let's talk a little bit about some of the classes. I mean, I took one, and the Reverend Tim Shaw. Now, Tim's a cool dude. Let me tell you what, I like Tim, and I always have. And his wife makes some of the best shirts you've ever seen. I mean, oh my God, these are nice. And they're kind of a paranormal Hawaiian shirt, and I don't even know where she gets the material at, but it is a nice shirt. But Tim was a load of fun, and when I took his cleansing class, because I wanted to know a bit more about cleansing, and two, I wanted to offer my services because, Tim is not obviously from Indiana, and, when he has a case here, he has certain groups in different states he reaches out to, and I wanted to be one of those groups. And so I found that when I went to this cleansing class, it was one of the late night ones. I think you guys had all went back to the house.
Right, correct.
And it was just me and Andrew. Andrew was taking another class. I don't remember what it was, but it was very, very late that night.
Right.
And, one of the things I figured out right off the bat when I went in was the crowd, and I'll tell you, the crowd at Paracons are made up of, in my mind, of about three people. You have your, what is the young people's term, fanboy kind of mentality, where a lot of people come there to see the stars, the TV stars, and they're fans, and that's what. Then you have the actual serious groups, and those will be people that are in their group shirts. They'll be serious about it. They're coming to get continuing education. They're coming to meet minds,
to network and things like that.
And then you've got the third type that are just signed up because it was in town and they think it's going to be fascinating. So when we got there at this class, I was really the only guy from a group in the entire class. Everybody else was either people that were curious, and I think they thought that that the Reverend Tim Shaw was going to bring a couple demons out on stage, show them, and put them back in the box and that kind of thing. And it was just kind of funny. And, him and I bantered back and forth a little bit. One of the things he was talking about was using graveyard dirt to help form a bond. And I go, what is the jail term for that when you get caught for, stealing the dirt off a grave? And he looked at us and he says, move quick. Yeah. He says, keep low.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend going into a graveyard and stealing graveyard dust.
We were going back and forth. And one of the things he said, and he was joking because we got to a point where we're talking about railroad ties. And he turned around and looked at me. He says, just for those in the audience that want to know, don't take the ties out that are in the ground. No. Pick up the loose ones. Right. And I'm going, what? Yeah. But we were laughing. It was a great class. But he talked about the things that I never thought about. He talked about ways of creating blockages and barricades to keep spirits in. Now, again, like he said, some of this, all parapsychology, and I always tell everybody, it has every bit of this science. It's not really a quasi-science, but it has exceptions to the rule.
Right.
Like physics. Physics, you have laws, you have theorems that are but the laws are hard, fast. This is how it works. It can't variate from this. And it makes a very difference. The theorems are been tested in law. Ours are not that way.
No, because we don't really understand the mechanism of what's going on. We think we do. We have ideas and suppositions. Yeah. But just like when we talked in our time slip episode a few episodes back, we don't really understand exactly what's going on. We're just making educated guesses based on what we're seeing back.
Deviating for a minute, I was thinking that the other day because I was watching part of Spider-Man. My youngest stepson and I used to watch Spider-Man together all the time. Or not, Flash. And they talk about the Marvel multiverse and all this. And I'm thinking, how, it may not be that far apart.
Right.
Could. I mean, you sit there and you think, So, we really don't know, but there's a lot of variables. But, he brought up ways of cleansing, things to use, and certainly it was very informative. It wasn't a thing like you see in the movies where a Catholic priest walks in and somebody's crawling around the ceiling. It wasn't that kind of situation. Right. And he sat down and he talked about, some things that should be moved over to religions because everybody's religion's a little different. And matter of fact, one of the series on TV right now, it's called Evil. I found something interesting in it. It deals with a 3-man team from the Vatican, a priest, a psychiatrist that is not a believer, and then a gentleman who is actually Muslim. And the funny thing is when
non-practicing Muslim.
Non-practicing. Okay. Well, she's non-practicing. He's the only real solid, religious figure in the whole bunch, being a priest. But the odd thing is, some of the demons come in. Well, they don't only have Christian demons, but they have jinns that are coming in.
I was just going to say, the jinns coming in here, right?
Yeah, and and it's kind of funny because...
Well, then we go back into our jinn episode.
Exactly.
Is everything not basically a djinn then.
Exactly.
You know?
And you know, so
it's all the same thing, just with different monikers to them.
You make it wonder if, you know, it's kind of like, you know, they're seeing them in whatever form of their religion they accept.
Exactly.
You know, it's maybe the same entity, but, you know, it's a jinn to one, demon to the other. But I found it kind of fascinating in that respect. And, you know, that was some of the things Tim Shaw brought up. Different religions, you have to deal with different things. And
it's
like
the same
he said,
phenomenon, just a different name.
Exactly. He says, I can't teach you everything in this hour course. He said, I'm going to tell you before you leave. That isn't going to happen. But Tim's a great guy, and I think actually he may be having another class coming up. I don't know. He had something advertised I saw the other day, so I'll have to kind of keep an eye on it.
Well, there are new programs coming on the books all the time. It's hard to keep track of some of them sometimes.
It is.
Got to keep checking.
Well, and then, you know, I went to a Adam Berry organizational class.
Right.
And that was kind of fun. It was light. I mean, I don't know that I learned as much, but I was able to share, so everybody else in the crowd learned more because, you know, we talked about the insurance, we talked about what we were doing and everything else.
That was more about group formation.
Yeah. We thought it was more like group dynamics and retention, and we got there, and no, it was more about forming new groups. So, hey, we paid for the class, and Adam is entertaining at best, especially if you add a little alcohol, it gets really entertaining fast. And so it was worth the class. And I mean, you know, we sat and talked to him.
Now, then the Amy Bruni class that you went to, the year that I was going to go but couldn't end up
And you
going,
would have loved that class.
That was on research.
Yes.
And I was excited to take that class, and I was so looking forward to it. And then my little boy broke his arm and had to
I remember
spend
that.
the money.
Actually, the night he broke it, we were on an investigation.
We were.
And you had to leave. Yeah, I remember that happening.
Yeah, that was something else.
Amy was funny because Adam came in.
But that was such a really good, informative class.
Well, and you know, that, I think, again, that changed some of the way we do things. Because she had a lot of extra information, things we didn't know were out there.
Right, and I had just come on as research.
Yep.
At that time.
You were getting into that position, and there was
that really
a lot going on.
helped me know exactly how to do it properly and thoroughly.
Me and you went to that one. I think that was the only one that went, didn't it? Or no, me and Tim. Me and Tim went to it.
Because you and Andrew went to Cindy.
Yeah.
Yes.
That night.
I never will forget because it was kind of funny because I told her I was going to make notes and everything, and she told Tim, she says, well, you can't record the session. He said, well, I was going to take pictures of you too. He said, well, oh, that's okay. And I had to laugh, and I said, well, you know how to get around her, lad. And I mean, but she was super nice. And, you know, Adam come in, and he goes, I'm here to help. She goes, no, you're not. Leave. Go. And, you know, she threw him right back out. But the class was really pretty good. She went through tons of stuff. But again, every one of these classes, we gleam a bit.
Right.
Now, what was the last class you went to, Jennifer?
Oh, the MJ...
Okay,
EVP workshop,
okay.
But the lecture that really stands out for me, and they're all good. They're all so much fun up there because they're just up there. They're just talking like we're friends, you know, just chit chatting and giving their experiences. But like Jeff Ballinger's talk on the Christmas ghosts, that was phenomenal. That was really good.
Oh yeah.
But my favorite was the one that Richard Estep did last year on
the killer ghosts.
No, the actual makeup of the house, if the walls could talk or something like that.
Oh, yeah. That was it. If the walls could talk,
where he actually put the idea into our brain that for those of us who think that things are sentient, you know, that if energy can pass into material, like with stone tape theory and things like that, if the living trees that make up these houses, if they have an energy core to them, and how that would maybe work with the hauntings, with the actual...
Well, it makes you wonder, too, if the house is alive. You know, you've heard people say that the house has feelings. And,
right. Yeah. If these walls could talk, right? I mean, and that was... You guys, if that interests you in the least bit, you need to go out and get his book, because it was an absolutely phenomenal thing. I had never even thought about that way, and I can't remember it right off the head.
That's okay. We'll find it.
We're going to Google that.
Yeah, we'll Google that. Yeah.
And because I was spellbound and fascinated because I didn't expect that talk to go that direction.
Well, yeah. I mean, some of them kind of fool you. Now, he did the one on Killer Ghosts. That's one Heather was starting to talk about.
That one was great, too. He's got a phenomenal library of books to his name.
And I missed part of that, and I hated that. Unfortunately, someone decided to take in too much sugar being diabetic, and I spent my time in the restroom while that talk was going on. By the time I got out, it was over with. It's like, damn, I caught the end of Fox Hollow, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really wanted to see the rest of it. I mean,
But the idea that a rundown, dilapidated house is actually going to try and draw energy and draw people to it so that it could feed off or live off the energy of whatever comes into that house.
I think the two biggest things in my mind that stand out in universal construction is energy and faith. I mean, a lot of people, okay, if you look at Star Wars, they talk about the Force.
Right.
The Force is no more than the previous study of auras, and that's where, I think Lucas came up with most of that. Every religion has somewhat of something to that effect. So if you look at it in that fashion, okay, the energy stays with the item it's living. I mean, everything has, even a rock has some point of EMF energy. So, in the long term of things, this is something that, we may see some theorems come out on this pretty soon, with everything. And again, this gets in, I don't want to get too long-haired and lose everybody or get way off on tangent, but, this comes into both light and vibration. The two things of existence through energy is either light and or vibration. So we measure something, we measure it either by light or by vibration. We use the oscilloscope and we can run that down. And I think you're starting to see more and more of this, which tells me there's probably people, maybe even government people, put my tinfoil hat on here, probably have already done quite a bit of research in this. And, I think that will evolve into what may one day become time travel, because the vibration speed may make a determination between individual universes. Okay?
Right, yeah.
So, the next universe may vibrate at a higher speed and everything will be higher. Because one thing we know is that the spirits, that we found in whatever universe they're in, they tend to move faster than we do.
Yeah.
And so, and I've had people ask me, they said, when you die and, you're going to go to this other plane of existence, do you start life over? Do you, I'm thinking, God, I hope not. I've been through 3 divorces. I'm not in a mood to start that over again in another universe. I'll tell you that, yeah. But I'm just saying, it makes one wonder, because we don't know. We don't know.
There are so many things we don't know.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, again, it goes back to that no 100%. So anyway, any other classes you want to elaborate on? Heather? Why don't you talk a little bit about the Patty Negri reading? I know we did that with a mirror, and we did that mirror on the wall, but I mean,
yeah, because I thought we discussed that a mirror on the wall.
Yeah, we did, but just a real quick brief, because you go to a lot of Patty Negri stuff.
We did the Patty Negri, then you did the Cindy Kaza, the psychic.
I know we experienced. Were you there for Patty?
I was there for Patty, but I was not there for the Cindy.
Well, I know we experienced a lot more during the Patty Negri reading than
because we actually asked for.
Well, not just while we were just sitting in the audience.
Oh yes, the lights moving above her.
Yeah, we saw stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and she
that was
said,
in Cindy's.
No, this is in Patty's.
Oh, no kidding. Huh.
Yeah, she said you might see flashes of light occur above me, and by gosh, it
happened.
It looked like.
And I want to stress, these are not parlor tricks, people. These are professionals in this field.
We were sitting in the chairs, I don't know, 5 minutes or so before she even came on stage.
Right,
and lights were up,
and we had been in that auditorium all day. And it's the same auditorium. You're in there for this class, that class.
Yeah. There's no bugs, so you can see stuff fly. You would be able to see stuff flying in
front of lights. I mean, and we didn't see this happen at any other time.
And this is not a stage. I want to elaborate that they close the curtain in between. No. It's open.
Yeah,
the curtains don't move. No. I mean, and just to get everybody to understand is, the seminars are free. So they are, like, say, in case of Michigan Paracon,
yeah, you just
3
pay
days,
your admission to come in,
and that allows
and then you can
into
sit and listen to
all
any
the
talk.
seminars.
It's the workshops that are paid.
It's the workshops that are paid.
More like the CEs that we attend, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, the thing is there's no way they could get somebody in without being noticed. I mean, it's impossible,
And so we were sitting there, and after the lights go down, she's talking for a few minutes, and she's like, you might see some things flying that look like they're flying, and we did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was.
It looked like lightning bugs, or I don't know.
Really?
No, yeah.
I hate
was.
That. I mean, I almost.
We say it that way because to give you a visual representation of what we saw.
I almost will say it.
Yeah.
It'll be almost like fairies.
Wow.
Well, that's exactly what I would have thought So, like, if anybody's watched the Tinkerbell series, when you see the little shoots of light,
Lights, like little.
Yeah, well, the fairy dust trail she leaves.
Yeah.
like little tiny comets going through.
Yeah.
You know, oddly enough,
It was
And then
bizarre.
And then we were
because see,
done.
I've never seen the
You
series.
never see it when she was done.
Yeah.
And she ended.
yeah,
there was nothing.
when she closed
Yeah.
down her session and she closed herself off, it didn't happen anymore.
Well, you know, I gotta say this so everybody knows. Actually, you know, because I've never seen the Tinkerbell series. I wouldn't mind. I've seen the old Tinkerbell, but the dust, it's actually fairy dust she's riding on, because fairies fly at the aid of fairy dust.
Right.
So the animators drew that in Disney. But no, I don't go to these. So and I'm not gonna tell you certain psychic gives me the creeps. I always think he's in my head fooling around, and I mean, you know, I'm not gonna mention any names, but
I think we all know.
yeah. And so I've
But you
always
guys
been
seem to
kind
be
of
pretty impressed with just how spot on Cindy was.
Oh yeah, no, she was great, but I didn't experience the same thing
That you did with Patty,
that I do. With
well, that may
Patty.
be
Yeah.
because of you. You know, you may be more open to how.
or the medium, depending on
Oh, it
how
could be,
they
yeah.
receive
But I
their.
was
Yeah.
the only one that
impressions.
Jennifer saw it.
Oh, I saw it. Absolutely saw it.
Our past couple members that
Yep.
are no longer with us, they saw
Yeah.
it.
They saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I had to laugh because Andrew always asked me. He says, "Do you have something against psychics?" No, I don't have a thing.
You just
I
don't
really
want
don't.
them in your brain.
Yeah, I just there's a whole lot there that I'm not comfortable with, and I mean, you know, I guess it's just that, you know. Anyway, but no,
if they go
I
there, just keep it to themselves. Don't start
exactly.
blabbing to a room
It's
full of
all level of security,
Yeah.
you know, clearance, and
Yeah.
I do have to laugh. Old Patty will never forget me after the phone incident, and
people. Oh, I know.
Tim and I were there, and I for the readers, I don't think we've done this in any episode, but it was one of the I don't know, 3-4 years ago.
it was
And
the first one we went to.
yeah, very first one went to maybe 4 years ago. I can't remember now, but anyway, Heather was buying her book, Patty Negri's book. We're at her booth, and I had just bought us new phones, and phones are not cheap. Everybody knows that.
gosh,
You know,
yeah.
hell, and you got to. They're like buying a damn car. You know, you got to work on payments, and you
mean
know,
an old car?
yeah, an old car, yeah, because
not a new car.
exactly, not these prices, yeah. But I mean, so we just get these new phones. As I walk up with Tim, my tech manager, Heather is paying for this book, and she has this phone in her hand that she's doing the charge on. The screen's cracked, and oh my God, I just come unglued. I thought, Jesus Christ, it's only been 3 days, and you've screwed that screen up. And I come virtually unglued about it. At some point, Heather looks at me and goes, "It's not my phone." And Patty looks at me and goes, as soon as I get home, I'm going to have them replace the screen. And I was like, shit.
Darn it.
And I had to apologize. As we're walking off, Tim goes, "You want to go yell at any of the other vendors?"
No kidding.
I said, "Screw off, Tim." Anyway, but yeah, we're walking through there, and
Well, that's the other really cool
Yeah.
thing about the Paracons like this is it's not just the workshops and it's not just the talks. You don't just sit in an auditorium
Yeah.
and sit all there all day and listen. All the vendor rooms you can walk through, where you
Yeah,
can
we should-
actually talk one-on-one with people. You can network with
Yes.
other groups. I mean, it really is an enjoyable
Something you
time.
said I like, because everybody treats you as though they know you. And I mean, a lot of people do know us.
Yeah.
Our shirts are a lot of that reason. I mean, certainly, you know, we go to Paracon up there every year. And when Dustin Perry came down here, you know, immediately first thing he said in the audience is, "I know you guys."
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, I mean, we travel around. He knows that. He travels around. He knows he has a point of contact, and he knows that we're the point of contact for Indiana. A lot of them know that, and they're very nice people. You
They
know,
really
and,
are
and
really down to earth.
oh yeah, and if you get to talk to them, because this is away from their agents, their handlers, and I mean, you know, and they're at their booths, and
It
you
is
know,
one-on-one. They're just normal people. Just
yeah,
like
and I mean, if you
everybody
want to make a
else.
photo with them, they'll come around and do selfies, and I mean, you know, so I mean, I guess in a lot of ways, I mean, and this year, I think what I'm going to do, since this could be the end, I'm going to go ahead and print out some of the pictures where we posed with them and had them autograph them.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You know, and so you know, but I'll be honest. The people need to understand that. Okay, like Michigan Paracon. Let's take that for instance. That's at Kewanee Casino, Kewalden. Am I saying it right? Kewalden.
I've never
I
been
think it's
able to pronounce
Kewalden
it.
is how it's pronounced. But anyway, there's multiple rooms. So when you walk in,
Right.
there's a couple rooms, 3 or 4 rooms that have vendors. You'll have people selling things. different articles. You'll have some podcasters. Actually, Chris and Maria from Traveler's Moon, they're there.
And then
they
the
do live
222
broadcasts.
Paranormal from Ohio.
Mr. Shortridge from Ohio, he's there. They'll do podcasts, while this is going on. And then, like I said,
the Traveling Museum is there.
The Nykirk's Traveling Museum usually is there. They're usually there.
You got tarot readers, you got Reiki healers, you got crystals.
Everybody is
everything.
in there. And the funny thing is, honestly, one of the very funny things I remember is, first time I went is, because they've got massage therapists in there. They got, just everything you can find. But everybody works together. Everybody's, I sat and talked to Cliff Brackman from the
was he the first year there?
He was one of the first years we went. He wasn't one of the first years ever. He told me he usually goes every other year. He was one of the nicest guys, and they stuck him over in a corner, and I had to laugh because I went over and started talking to him, and we started kind of building this rapport and talking back and forth, and we were just talking about normal stuff because we don't do cryptozoology. He doesn't do parapsychology. So, two different worlds. But the actual stand next to him was a couple from Ohio that made masks. They made some of the most beautiful masks, Wendigos.
They're awesome.
Oh, they are.
Oh, they're the ones you talked about in the Krampus episode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they make all these different masks. And I was talking about playing craps afterwards. And he said, well, he was going to go to bed early because he was tired. He just got in. He got a late flight and ended up coming in. He was wanting to be there a day early and didn't. And so the one gal says, well, I'd love to learn. I said, well, here's the thing. I need somebody who can throw the dice because I have this, every gambler has their superstitions. Yeah. And mine is a lady's luck is a lot better than a men's. So I'm always looking for a lady to throw the dice. But you got to be careful because you've got to throw them properly. And she had played craps before, and she ended up rolling that night. We made about $200 or $300. Wasn't much, but we were only there 10 minutes. Jason and Sherry came over and watched us roll, and we were making good money. But it's one of the times that you may stand in line with Jason or Dustin or whomever, and they're good about things. And that's the thing. Now, the other thing I want to say is we talked a lot about Michigan Paracon. There are other Paracons. Okay?
Yeah, there are. And actually, this may be Michigan's last year. I know they put that up on their website that they're having some issues on the back end. Organization trying to get...
Don't know what.
We don't know the extent of it, and putting on an event this size is astronomical. And they've done it for 14 years straight, so kudos to them. That's just fabulous.
And I tell you what, they set the benchmark. They set the standard for Paracons.
I mean, because there are lots of other Paracons that aren't really set up like this. I mean, there's the booth, you can meet the people, but we've never been to any of them, so we're going to have to maybe reach out and
we're going
see
to
about
start,
them.
and I tell you, for years, when I first started going to Paracons, and me and Andrew came up with this.
You went to the one in Alton, Illinois, right?
Yeah, well, I went to that one, but the big one, which none of us ever got to go to, was in Vegas. And anybody that's ever been to Vegas, being a Shriner, we've had conventions there. Vegas is the top town for handling conventions. If they have 8 million people come in for a convention, that's nothing. They handle that all the time.
Right.
And they do a really good job. But that convention eventually went away. So Michigan became the biggest convention out there, at least we knew of, that was near us. Now, I did look up, just for shits and giggles here, I did get a couple of items. One is the Penhurst Paracon.
Yep.
And that one's going to be May, which I already passed. It was May 18th to 19th.
But it seems to happen every May. I've seen it come up on Facebook a couple of years in a row.
It's in Pennsylvania. I mean, it's not super close, but it's not super far. It's still probably maybe a little more than 8 hours, but somewhere in that vicinity,
But usually there's going to be some sort of a paranormal gathering convention type thing close to you within an 8 to 10 hour drive.
Oh,
really?
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I tell you, it's worth the drive. There's a Haunted America Conference in Alton, Illinois. And that's one we went to. Now, we actually went to, it was right after the convention. And one of the things that it had to do with, God, I was sitting here trying to think.
The Exorcist.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to think of the gentleman who was the author, and he was extremely nice. And I'm sitting here, and give me just a second here. I'll have to look.
Oh, it's not Troy Taylor.
Troy Taylor, yes. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Troy Taylor.
Troy's a nice guy.
Oh my gosh.
And we went to his when he first came out with The Devil in St. Louis, and talked about the original Exorcist. And it was kind of funny because
book reading and
and
signing.
Now Troy would be somebody I would love to meet because his book on the Villisca Axe murder is phenomenal.
He does a good job. I mean, I had to laugh because we came in and we're in uniform. Pretty much everybody else there were just, people that were interested in paranormal. None were groups.
Or the books.
Right.
Or the
and
books.
I think the majority of people at some of these are that.
Well, and I'll tell you, his persona changed because he was dealing with all these people that were fans, and
Right.
He was very nice. Don't get me wrong; he was extremely nice to him. But then when it came to us, it was like, "Hey, I'll go drinking with you right now." He recognized us as professionals. He spoke to us as professionals,
Right.
And I was talking to him about that, and it was actually done in the haunted hotel there, and I had to laugh because the guy is just I felt just like I did in Michigan, very down to earth, very easygoing. The guy is just extremely good, but he's written a numerous amount of books, but actually, the tickets were bought by Andrew. Andrew and his wife were going, and then they couldn't. Something changed at work, and he just gave me the tickets and said, "You need to go." And we drove over there, and I tell you what, it was well worth it. Now, they have their festival every year.
Right.
That's in June. And then New Jersey, which this one I believe, and don't quote me on this, I believe Jason Halls is part of the sponsor on this because they're out of Rhode Island, but this is in Jersey Para-Unity Expo. And they have it. Now, I think there's other ones around.
Yeah, I know that I believe that there's one in Arkansas at the Crescent Hotel.
Yep,
I'm pretty sure.
So.
And then MJ Dixon, our friend from the UK.
Yes.
She hosts Paracons for Sage Paracon in the UK. And there's other Paracons happening in the UK as well. I know that.
Next time we go over, I'm going to try to time that.
Right.
Yeah.
I know that Penny Griffiths Morgan,
that'd be awesome.
who does the podcast Haunted Histories over in the UK. She does a lot with the Royal Air Force. She really likes military plane history, so she does a lot with that. But she is with a group. She's with friends with a gal who puts on a Paracon over there as well, and they're just going to be doing that in September. But MJ she has her UK Paracons, and then she has her Sage Paracons here in the US too. She did 2 this past year at the Belle Grove Plantation in Virginia.
Oh.
And I don't know if there's one this September, but I know that there's one September 2025 at the Belle Grove Plantation. And again, these are not as big as Michigan. It's smaller. It's at the facility.
Yeah.
You investigate with the people. I mean, Richard Estep came over. Sean Porter was just at the one that she put on at Belle Grove here in May or April. Maybe it was in April. No, April she was at Ashmore with Richard Estep. And then in May, she was at Belle Grove with her Sage Paracon. And Sean Porter was there. Estep was there. A bunch of other people.
Yeah.
And, again, they do the talks.
Yeah.
I don't know that they do the CMEs like up at Michigan.
Yeah.
But still, it's a time to get together to explore new things.
Yes.
Learn about new things and investigate these places with these people.
Yes.
So you can hone your abilities.
Well, and that kind of moves us into our next subject. I think a big part of this, part of it, we go to Paracons for education. Part of it we go to because it's just fun and we enjoy it. But part of that is bonding.
Bonding, without a doubt, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when we drive up several times, and thank God, Andrew has always been our driver. And I'll never forget the first year we went to Michigan. Right before we get to, there's a bridge. And you got to understand, with Michigan thinking, the way it works with Michigan is if you are from the Upper Peninsula, you are a Uper.
Yep.
And when Andrew first explained this to me, I was like, "You gotta be kidding me, really?" And then if you're below the bridge, you're a troll. And the big thing here is that everybody misses is the damn bridge. This reminds me of a death trap. Fire escape that's barely hanging onto the building. I mean, and I'm going to tell you, it passed all the inspections. I mean, I don't want anybody going back saying, Chief says the bridge is unsafe. That's not what it is.
It just doesn't have any center divide, and there's very low rails on the edges. So you don't feel like you're just basically on a plank over the water.
Yeah, we're driving across. It was 4 of us the first year that I went, and it was myself, Heather, and Tim and Andrew. As we start on the bridge, the first thing he tells me is, he says, the bad thing about this bridge is there's no center guide, no K-rails. A car come right over and kill you. And I looked at him, I go,
there isn't much on the sides either.
No, and then he starts bringing up there's no wires on the side, and he says, what, Blue, and you go over. I said, you could have waited till we got on the other side to tell me this. And, it's a 3-mile bridge. It's the longest 3 miles in my life. And actually, during the season.
And it's high.
Yes.
It's high.
It is. It is not a low bridge.
It's not like that Key West bridge where you're just a few feet from the water, Yeah,
this is up. This is up in the air, and I mean, it's not the Grand Gorge, but Jesus Christ, it's still up there a ways. And when you get to the other side, there's this just relief. But no, there's actually a true story, and I researched it one year, and because I knew Andrew had seen it someplace, so I looked up this story about the Yugo got blown off, and it turns out, yes, the Yugo got blown off. The woman died from drowning, not from the crash.
Right.
But she was actually, and it shows her tombstone and so forth. But the funny thing is that has always been my problem. I love Michigan, I'll tell you. I never really, I've been up that way when I was stationed at Great Lakes and some of that area, but I tell you what, I love Michigan. It's nice.
Beautiful.
Yeah, now I think winter it's just about as Arctic as you can get, but but otherwise it's nice.
Well, they didn't have any snow last year, though, because my cousin was unable to go snowmobiling.
Well, I don't know if it's a shift or what. None of us have gotten snow. I mean, every year I prepare the snow blower with great precision, and then it never does anything, and I put it back in the barn. But anyway, the thing about it is the ride up, the 8-hour ride up was great. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, that was one of the best times we could ever have. And I mean, we talked, we cut up. That was the year, I think, that Heather brought shrimp chips.
Yes.
I'll never forget this.
Year now.
Yeah, and they smelled like seafood. I'll never forget this. She's in the back seat. She opens this bag up. Andrew goes, "What the hell is that smell? Does anybody else smell that?" And it was her chips as we're driving up. But, those are incidents we still talk about. They're good memories. And, it's part of the fun of the drive. Now, we get those the same way when we go to do an investigation. We have to drive an hour or something. We're all in the van together, we're all in the vehicle. But, I mean, it's a load of fun. Now, when we got there the first year, we stayed at a hotel. And let me tell you what, the hotel selection, if you ever go to Sault Ste. Marie, they consider a 3-star hotel the top of the line. Yeah, you're better off getting an Airbnb. And we do an Airbnb every year. It's a neat place, and we have stories about that. The first year we went, we were driving down, we passed this creepy church, and this is way out in the country,
and this is dark.
Yes.
It's 10 o'clock at night, the fog is rolling in.
Yes.
And it's not even a 2-lane road.
No.
It's a 1.5 lane dirt road.
Yeah, and we're passing this church, and it has the electric candles,
and they have blue lights.
Yeah. And it's everywhere, and we're looking at it and going, oh yeah, there's nothing creepy about this. No. And this looks like what kind of church is that? It was right out of some
horror film.
Oh yeah, and then we go a little further, and all of a sudden Heather goes, I can see a orb, kind of a bright orb. We get out in this road, and in all this fog, all you can see is this whitish orb. It's up in the sky, and I go, okay, we don't do ufology. Ignore it. We're going to the house. So we peel away from there. And we get down, and this house, the back porch lights burn out, and that's where you get in the house. And so we get unloading, and to my right, my left is the house, the right is this huge open field. We don't know what's out there. All of a sudden, I start hearing something very heavy and very big, and I'm thinking, I'm not into cryptozoology, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. I mean, and I looked over at Andrew. Andrew came out and goes, did you hear that walking around? I go, yep, I did, Andrew. I said, don't get real far from the car. We may have to make a dash for the door. And we're unloading luggage. The next morning, fog clears.
They're horses.
Yeah, 2 horses. And inside, they have a thing with carrots telling us we can view. Turns out the orb in the air was someone's.
It was a flag light.
Yeah, it was for a flagpole. It was a light on the top, yeah. And then we go by the church, and some Baptist church. It doesn't look near as creepy, but it's incredible how that works.
Not during the day, but those little the blue light bulbs.
Oh, yeah. I tell you what, in the right circumstances, but we still tell that story. We still laugh about it. And I mean, this year we'll be renting a van, so we're a little more comfortable going up. And I mean, we'll be there. If you're going, you can come find us. We'll be in our black shirts. You can always see us in the black spirit shirts. But all that is part of the fun of going up. And I tell you what, people really, truly, truly enjoy it. And I hope that the Michigan Paracon stays and continues, but if not, we'll have to find another.
If they find a way, they'll find a way.
Exactly.
Not, they had a really great run.
They did. And I tell you what, I mean, we kept all the programs from it. It was great, and I mean, I truly, 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 remember that. I really will all the way through, and
Richard has way too many books for me. I still cannot find the name of that book, but I will put it in the show notes.
Okay, because I've stalled as long as I can go. I couldn't find it, and I barely looked. I knew you guys are better at it than I am. Again, folks, if you have the time, go to a Paracon. It'll be worth it. And I tell you what, we appreciate you listening to Ghost to Ghost. We ask you to listen, and if you have any comments, feel free to jump on our Facebook page. If you want to hear something in particular, a different subject, we can help you with, please reach out to us. And, if you will post a comment, we'll recognize you on air. So certainly we ask that, if you can find time in your heart to go on there and leave us a comment, we would deeply appreciate it. So, well, folks, it's that time. It's time for Ghost to Ghost with Jennifer Verne.
Today's ghost story of the day is from A Ghost Today by Maureen Wood and Ron Kolick. Banff Springs Hotel, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Like many other Canadian hotels, the Banff Springs was constructed by the railroad, in this case, the Canadian Pacific Railway. In the 1930s, it became a popular destination for the rich and famous. But who haunts it now? The most helpful ghost is that of a bellman named Sam Macaulay. Macaulay died in 1976, but that doesn't stop him from helping guests with their bags, opening doors, or turning the lights on for them. Anytime someone tries to tip him, he vanishes. And then there is the phantom bartender, who frequently informs customers that they have had too much to drink and should go to bed. However, before having a chance to argue, he disappears. But it's the rumors about the dark spirits inhabiting 873 that will make the little hairs on your neck stand to attention. The story goes that a family was murdered there. Bloody fingerprints appear on its mirror, and no matter how hard the staff worked to remove them, they occasionally return. Finally, no longer able to endure the paranormal phenomenon, the management bricked up the door. The hotel has changed hands now, and the new management doesn't like to talk about the ghosts. But of course, they cannot prevent the stories of their guests to carry on.
Thanks for listening to Ghost. Again, I'm your host, Chief Lawson. You can find Ghost on all major formats on the 15th and 30th of the month at midnight. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, maybe have a question or subject you'd like to ask about on air or be used on the show, please email us at ghosttoghost@spiritindiana.com, ghosttoghost@spiritindiana.com. I want to thank my production staff on Spirit, Jennifer Verne, our research manager and our producer, and Heather Lawson, our trainer on Spirit and our podcast director, for helping make these podcasts possible. My chief of staff, Andrew Brooks, for his guidance and help on the scripts, and everyone else involved. Thank you so much. See you next time. Until then, stay safe and remember the truth is out there. Good night. Ghost to Ghost podcast and its contents is the property of Spirit Paranormal Ltd. All rights reserved. We welcome you to download and play the podcast and share with others for personal use. You may not, except with written permission, use or distribute its contents for commercial use. Spirit Indiana Paranormal, covering the Hoosier State since 2002, Indy's oldest parapsychology investigation group. If you're experiencing what you believe to be paranormal issues, reach out to us for help at www.spiritindiana.com or call our hotline at 317-883-9103. Again, that is www.spiritindiana.com or our hotline at 317-883-9103. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourself and the ones you love, and be safe out there.